And we are up on YouTube. And we are up on YouTube. This is wonderful. This is terrific.
From 1980, Joe English and The Triumph. More joyful sounds in a moment. I'm Rob Green.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Tom and Levi.
Tom is the smartest man I know. He's been a professor at 2 major universities, been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, he told me that he was having problems in his classes. I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. And he was telling them that he was doing it as a favor to them, but I think in reality...
But he was there beside me, and my love for him was just immense.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
WYRZ.
Stereo FM. This is the 39th anniversary edition of the Joyful Sounds program. In all these years, here's the original host, Rob Green. There are a few industry professionals that I really need to acknowledge here. The first, Rick Tarrant in Memphis, Tennessee. He was responsible for the drop-ins and the jingles that we had. You know, the word and music and joyful sounds and the love of Jesus is on the air. They came from Rick's company. Joyful Sounds brings you a voice in the crowd. I'm not exactly sure how, but Rick was quickly convinced that he should support our shoestring operation for free for a friend, and still is to this day. Turn on the lights, turn on the light, music that turns the night to day. Turn on the light. And the second person was Chris Christian, the artist, the singer, the songwriter, the producer, one of the first producers for Amy Grant. And he was responsible for the actual jingle package. You know, turn on the light, music to turn the night to day. That came from Chris Christian. That was an awesome addition to the show. Really helped me because of those professional additions to the radio show. It gave me something to have to meet as a star.
Love this song. This is the Imperials featuring Russ Taff and the Trumpet of Jesus. trumpet of Jesus. Why the world hears a different sound. I must do the trumpet of God Almighty while the others just wander around. I'm a member of the Holy Ghost traveling there. We're moving up to a better land. I get the voice of a supernatural being in the calling of the door.
Doing a lot more talking than I ever normally do here on Joyful Sounds, but good reason. This is our 39th anniversary program. In other words, starting today, we're starting our 40th year. And if you've tuned in for our anniversary program, and perhaps you haven't tuned in for a long, long time, always would love to hear from you. Email address, info, I-N-F-O, at joyfulsounds.info. That's info@joyfulsounds.info. Or you can call our 24-hour talkback line at 615-777-9394. That's 615-777-9394. You can make a request. We stack them up and play them on occasional request shows. Or you can leave a message. I'll even call you back. 615-777-9394. That's our talkback line, our request line for Joyful Sounds. I'm Rob Green. I have been Rob Green for these 39 years, entering our 40th year on Joyful Sounds.
Yeah.
Seems unreal compared to that very first night, October 2nd, 1982. If I'd known then what I was getting into, I would have been much more petrified than I was. Back in a moment.
Do you or someone you know struggle to hear while using the telephone? Relay Indiana helps Hoosiers who are deaf or hard of hearing to enjoy phone conversations by using caption telephones. Relay Indiana service provides captions on a bright, easy-to-read screen. So if you miss part of the conversation, just check the screen for clarification. Go to RelayIndiana.com to view the type of caption telephone that meets your needs. Visit RelayIndiana.com for more information.
So while we're broadcasting from WYRZ 98.9 FM and on WYRZ.org, we're also doing our bit on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And if you'd like to know the link for that, well, you're able to find that out by going to our website, www.joyfulsounds.info. Go there and you're able to find out the link for joining us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live.
Hi, this is Tom Downer, Executive Director of the Avon Chamber of Commerce, reminding you to shop local. Remember, the money you spend in Henrys County stays in Henrys County.
Celebrating our 39th anniversary, beginning our 40th year today, Joyful Sounds and Kenny Marks.
We
from
just lost Facebook
1982
Live?
with In the Middle of the Night.
It's an echo. If you got both of them playing in here.
I thank God every day. You got YouTube
Brother
back
and
up?
sister group, the second chapter
And you got
of
face-
Acts, big in contemporary Christian music,
Right.
had actually broken up by the time Joyful Sounds hit the airwaves in 1982. And they all had solo careers after that. Matthew Ward, the male member, the brother, had this song from 1982 entitled Hold On.
It sounds like we've got everything working finally. We've got YouTube Live, we got Facebook Live. It's all working. And the system stopped crashing. The computer, I've got master control right here. Hold on.
You're listening to the Voice of Harris County. Matthew West. Janelle Arthur.
And this is Rich Mullins. Strong arms.
Hold on tight. Some folks have cut off and no dignity like that face. I think you need so much to show for your alleged faith. Well, there's a difference, you know, between having faith and playing make-believe. One will make you grow, the other one just make you sleep. Talk about it, but I really think you ought to take a leap off of the ship before you claim to walk on water. Faith without words, like a song you can't sing. It's about as useless as a screen door on a submarine. Faith comes from God, in every word that He breathes. He lets you take it through your heart, so you can give it as a fee. Gotta be active if it's gonna be a life. You gotta put it into practice. Otherwise, it's about as useless as a screen door on a submarine. Faith without works, baby, it just ain't happening. What is your right? What is your left? It's your life, your guide, your in your breath. The faith without words is like a song you can't sing. It's about as useless as a screen door on a submarine. Faith without words, like a song you can't sing. It's about as useless as a screen door on a submarine.
WYRZLP. Brownsburg, Zionsville. It's 10 o'clock.
Turn on the lights, turn on the lights. Music that turns the night to day. Turn on the lights, turn on the lights. Turn on the lights, turn on the lights. Turn on the lights. Turn on the lights, turn on the lights. Music that turns the night to day. Turn on the lights. Joyful sound.
This is the 39th anniversary edition of the Joyful Sounds program. In all these years, here's the original host, Rob Green.
Another important part of our history has to do with our sponsors, our advertisers, and our underwriters. Names come rushing back to memory, like the Lawton Brothers, Benson Insurance, McDonald Auto, Camden Carpets, and then more names like the Mason Place and Fursino Windows of Durham. These are names from 30, 35, 39 years ago. Companies that a lot of them don't exist anymore, but some of them do, and I recently reached out to a few that I could remember and find. John Cummings and Butch Catton. Many of them bought sponsorships that went mostly or entirely to the radio stations that carried the show. Much like today's sponsors on some of our stations, and much like today, that played an important role in keeping the show on the air. In a real sense, it was putting their money where my mouth was. If the show had been dropped due to a lack of sponsorship or no underwriting, it would have been such a setback. I'm not sure what would have happened. I'm not sure things would have continued. So they all, and some of them are listening right now, you all played a role. Some people at the radio stations, Joe Frechette, Michael Caine, and many more whose names I may have now forgotten. Coast to coast and beyond were great, supportive, and helpful over the years. In fact, I suppose, if I thought about it, I would never stop thanking those people and many more for being friends of Joyful Sounds, for being my friends. From 1979, Amy Grant and Father's Eyes.
And of course, here we are on WYRZ. Shane Ray, executive director of the radio station, lives across the road from me. I could wave out the window at him and say, "Hey Shane, how's it doing?" And Brian Scott, who is always my go-to guy, technically on Sunday nights if I have an issue. And of course, I do want to thank the people at Relay Indiana, who here locally provide the financial support to keep Joyful Sounds on the air here on WYRZ every week. And in the past, we've had other sponsors, Our Specialty and Susie Broyles at Gemini Realty. She's an hour earlier now on the Gospel Country program. But all of these sponsors are wonderful, wonderful people, and we really couldn't do it without their support right here on this local station, which happens to be my local station. And I love it so much. And so we have a great relationship here in town, in the community, very active in the community as well. So I wanted to pass that word along as well.
Brown Bannister and his one and only solo album from 1982 with Talk to One Another.
Do you or someone you know struggle to hear while using the telephone? Relay Indiana helps Hoosiers who are deaf or hard of hearing to enjoy phone conversations by using caption telephones. Relay Indiana service provides captions on a bright, easy-to-read screen. So if you miss part of the conversation, just check the screen for clarification. Go to RelayIndiana.com to view the type of caption telephone that meets your needs. Visit RelayIndiana.com for more information.
So while we're broadcasting from WYRZ 98.9 FM and on WYRZ.org, we're also doing our bit on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And if you'd like to know the link for that, well, you're able to find that out by going to our website, www.joyfulsounds.info. Go there and you're able to find out the link for joining us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live.
WYRZ.
And you know, it wasn't that long ago, probably a month or two ago, that a couple of listeners got in touch with me about roller skating. We used to run Christian roller skating local to some of our stations in this area where we started, first in Aurora and later in downtown Toronto at the largest roller rink in the entire region. Both roller rinks are long gone, turned into other more profitable real estate. Well, it was wonderful to hear from these listeners, and they told me just how important the Christian music was that we played there at the rink, including this song, David Meese and Falling Down.
Can you believe it if I told you that David Meese was trained in classical piano?
I hope that got your heart beating and your blood flowing. Falling Down by David Meese. Great song for roller skating. Great message, too. And that was the point. Everybody listening to me today, listen carefully. That was the point of the music.
Yep. He was.
A lot of great message, and yes, you could really hear there was plenty of criticism from the likes of, well, I won't mention his name again this hour, but there were plenty of people who said that the contemporary Christian music could not be used by God, and they were wrong. In fact, so many of the kids of that era, kids that were teenagers in the 1980s, and now they're in their 50s, and they've got grown kids of their own. They tell me they remembered the music coming back again and again. Long after the show had left their area, they couldn't find it anymore. The music spoke to them again and again, encouraged them, and led them to press on in their spiritual pursuits and their spiritual growth. And among other things, messages in the music encourage them not to become overly judgmental. For example, this song by Chuck Girard, one of the earliest people in the Jesus People movement, that great renewal or revival in the 1970s in Southern California, where contemporary Christian music first sprang from. He had this song with an important message. It was called Don't Shoot the Wounded.
Hey, want to say hello to Greg McDougall, a Christian country artist who has joined us on Facebook Live. Greg, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. We're celebrating our 39th anniversary program of Joyful Sounds. Turns out it's one of the longest, or maybe the longest surviving, longest running program of contemporary Christian music. Ha! That's all my fault.
But the ones who might be struggling, we tend to judge too harshly and refuse to try and catch them when they're falling. We put people into boxes and we draw our hard conclusions, and when they do the things we know they should not do, we sometimes write them off as hopeless and we throw them to the dogs. Our compassion and forgiveness sometimes seem in short supply, so I say, don't shoot the wounded.
We need them more than ever.
They need our love, no matter what it is they've done. Sometimes we just condemn them and don't take time to hear their story. Don't shoot the wounded. Someday you might be one. We can love them and forgive them when their sin does not exceed our own. For we too have been down bumpy roads before. But when they commit offenses outside the boundaries we have set, we judge them in a word and we turn them out and we close the door. Myself, I've been forgiven for so many awful things. I've been cleansed and washed and bathed so many times.
Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn or just stay at the stop sign. She wasn't even really sure where she was at. She was very concerned. It was very unsettling for her.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it, to bring the family in on it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Getting back to life. Here's a hit parade blast from the past, the golden oldie.
From 1983, David Meese, and You Know It's Right.
Golden oldie. Were they talking about me? David and the Giants.
From 1981, David and the Giants with I'm a Fanatic. So while we're broadcasting from WYRZ 98.9 FM and on WYRZ.org, we're also doing our bit on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And if you'd like to know the link for that, well, you're able to find that out by going to our website, www.joyfulsounds.info. Go there and you're able to find out the link for joining us on Facebook Live or YouTube Live.
It's 64 degrees.
A rather wet week ahead of us this first full week of October, but with a generally nice forecast so far for next weekend. I'm Rob Green with your Hendricks County forecast. Today and Monday we're seeing thunderstorms and rain showers, probably ending later in the day Monday. Highs both days near the mid-70s, lows in the low 60s. Tuesday should be dry with only a slight chance of a shower and a high near the mid-70s. Tuesday night an overnight low of 62 with rain starting after midnight and continuing through Wednesday. Thursday ought to be the last day for rain before a rather nice weekend. Highs Saturday, Sunday, and Monday should reach around 80. Whether you call Monday Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, Day of Respect of Cultural Diversity, Day of the Americas, Day of the Encounter of Two Worlds, the first day of fall break, or like in our house, Canadian Thanksgiving Day, the weather should be real nice. For today, sunrise at 7:45, sunset at 7:22. Days are getting shorter, faster now. And now back to your $1 million weekend on Solid Gold and 98.9 FM WYRZ. WYRZ.org. In Brownsburg, some of the best songs have a habit of hanging around in your brain long after the song is over. And this is one of them from 1983. The Cruz Family and Sing.
Clear
Now, this next artist was one of the leads in the group America. Sometime before this show started, and that was in 1982, several years earlier, he left the group America and struck out in a solo career. Something he'd always been was a Christian, and something he always wanted to do was to sing contemporary Christian music. So here's Dan Peek, and this song is from 1986, and it's the original version of Lonely People.
Ah, we got Lee Chamberlain visiting as well on Facebook Live. Welcome, Lee.
From 1983, DeGarmo and Key, and Let the Whole World Sing.
Like this, like them all. Of course I liked them all. I lived this music when it was in the top 10, and I played it every week. The history of contemporary Christian music is kind of embedded in the story of my life. You know, there's a movie out called The Jesus Music. I kind of like to see it, because that's going to be the story of my life too. Anyway, DeGarmo and Key and Let the Whole World Sing. Whoa.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council. Solid Gold, WYRD.
This is the 39th anniversary edition of the Joyful Sounds program. In all these years, here's the original host, Bob Green.
When we started this radio show back in 1982, a number of mainstream artists had already declared openly their faith in Christ and had begun singing contemporary Christian music. Among them, Bob Dylan, B.J. Thomas, and this artist, famous for several different careers. He sang Abraham, Martin, and John in the mid-60s. He sang a bunch of doo-wop songs in the early 60s and late 50s. I'm talking about Dion. And he had this single from 1982 entitled The Best.
I'd like to write for you a song of songs, convince you all that you should come along, but I'd probably never live that long. Jesus died for you. I sit around and I
We lost
make
Facebook,
up clever
but not YouTube. We lost YouTube.
sing them out as they dance through my mind, but sweeter love than his you're never gonna find. You see, Jesus died for you, and the best thing I can tell you is God loves you. I can say that from my heart, and know it's true. The best thing I can tell you is God loves you, and He sent His only Son, living through. I could talk all night till I'm blue in the face, present my argument, state my case, but I'd rather tell you people about His wondrous grace. Jesus died for you. I could talk about theology,
from 1979, Bob Dylan and You Gotta Serve Somebody.
Do you or someone you know struggle to hear while using the telephone? Relay Indiana helps Hoosiers who are deaf or hard of hearing to enjoy phone conversations by using caption telephones. Relay Indiana service provides captions on a bright, easy-to-read screen. So if you miss part of the conversation, just check the screen for clarification. Go to RelayIndiana.com to view the type of caption telephone that meets your needs. Visit RelayIndiana.com for more information.
98.9
Well, here we are at the end of this, our 39th anniversary program. For those of you that are new to the program, well, trust me, I do not talk this much on any other edition of the program. But this is, after all, our 39th anniversary of the program. And for those of you that have been listeners to the show for all of those years, or for a greater or lesser number of years, well, thanks for coming along on this journey of reminiscing and memories. And, well, it's been kind of thought-provoking for me all these years. I have a couple of songs to leave you with as we part our ways. But before I do that, I want to tell you, coming up in the coming weeks, over the next couple of months, I have planned a radio special that will be a multi-week special, the top 90 songs of the 1990s. That'll be coming up over the next little while, between now and the end of the year. And of course, the best in the world of contemporary Christian music from years gone by. I also want to start concentrating more on the era of the 60s and 70s, an area that's been underserved, and that goes back before the time of the magazines and the charts. So that's going to be some work for me to research. Going to leave you with a couple of songs. Farrell and Farrell, a song called After All Those Years, and a song by Rich Mullins called Hello Old Friend. I'm Rob Green, and I have been your host over the last 39 years.
Walking hand in hand.
Well, Stephen Colbert is still with us in Kansas. So thanks, Stephen, for hanging with us. Looks like YouTube is the way to listen to us now because Facebook has blocked us for the night.
Someone's got to keep it on going, just as long as the folks who haven't heard. So you can count on me, 'cause you're showing that there's so many ways to spread his word. Don't you know that someone's got to keep it on going, just as long as the folks who haven't heard. So you can count on me, 'cause you're showing that there's so many ways to spread his word. Don't you really know that someone's got to keep it on going? As long as the folks who haven't heard. So you can count on me, 'cause you're showing that there's so many ways to spread his word. Got to listen to me, someone's got to keep it on going. As long as the folks who haven't heard. So you can count on
Well,
me.
I guess at this point it's time for us to say goodnight. Thank you so much for
If you
listening.
enjoyed this program or any other programs on WYRZ, we would like to hear from you. You can email us at admin@wyrz.org. Donations to the radio station to ensure these programs continue can be sent to WYRZ, 701 North Green Street, Brownsburg, Indiana, 46112.
All right. And just a program note, we really do appreciate our own local hometown station, WYRZ, for carrying joyful sounds each week. But for those of you that might have tuned in late or not heard as much that you might have wanted to hear, the show begins in about a minute on heavenscountry.com. That's heavenscountry.com. And it'll run for 2 hours.